Hi everyone. I am Tanya, a senior growth marketer at Meritto, and your host for today's edition of Education Circuit by Meritto. I welcome you all to this session where we bring together experts, academic leaders, and decision makers from across the education ecosystem to explore the ideas shaping the future of higher education. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to Education Circuit by Meritto. And those who don't know, Meritto is the global standard in enrollment technology for universities, colleges, schools, and edtech organizations. Our goal is simple to help institutions recruit smarter, engage students better, and manage enrollment seamlessly in an increasingly complex and competitive environment. Today's topic is both timely and critical: student recruitment, retention, and reputation in the UAE. The UAE is now one of the most competitive higher education markets globally. Students are more informed, more selective, and more intentional about where they study. They are looking beyond rankings towards relevance, experience, inclusion, and long term outcomes. Today's conversation will unpack how institutions can respond to these shifts and build sustainable success in the UAE's evolving higher ed landscape. I'm delighted to be joined by an exceptional panel of academic leaders for today's webinar. First, Professor Ali. Professor Ali is a former chancellor of University of Science and Technology of Fujairah and one of the most respected higher education leaders in the Gulf. With decades of experiences across institutional leadership, accreditation, and digital transformation, he brings a strategic systems level view on how universities and institutes must evolve to remain trusted, competitive, and future ready. Hi, Professor Ali.
Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Next, we have Professor Sherif Khalifa joining us. Professor Khalifa serves as Vice Chancellor and Dean at Dubai Medical University College of Pharmacy. His leadership in academic governance and healthcare education highlights how rigor, accreditation, and quality assurance directly shape institutional credibility, student confidence, and enrollment decisions in the UAE. Hi, sir. Then we have joining us as well is Dr. Nadera Alberno. Dr. Nadera is Dean and Professor of Education at the American University in Dubai. A strong advocate for inclusive education and student-centered learning, she brings an essential perspectives on belonging, access, and student experience, the key drivers for both recruitment and long-term retention. Hi, ma'am. And finally, Dr. Sana Arshad. Dr. Sana is academic faculty at the School of Business and Law at De Montfort University, Dubai, and a UAE delegate at GAFAI. Her work bridges student behavior, market insights, and curriculum relevance, offering valuable clarity on how students evaluate value propositions and stay engaged throughout their academic journey. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm so happy and excited to be among the experienced people. I'm happy that I'll be having a lot of insightful experience from them today. Thank you.
Likewise, ma'am. Thank you all for being with us today. Now, without wasting much time, I just like to begin with our conversation. So, as the UAE has become one of the most competitive higher education markets globally, I would like to start with Professor Ali first. My question is to you. What single shift in student decision making has most changed how universities must approach student recruitments today? What is your opinion here?
Okay. Okay, Tanya, first of all, it's my pleasure to join this distinguished panel in one of the most hot topics that the students are looking nowadays. From my experience in these decades of higher education in United Arab Emirates, the problem now in the challenge in the institution are facing today is not just to deliver education, but they have to resonate with the needs of the modern, global aware students. And when students are looking for the institutions, they actually doing a high level of assessment of their future. And they are not just looking for a degree, they are looking for non-negotiable quality, which I can say three qualities which they are looking for. The first one they are looking for actually is the quality of life. Quality of life we should be focused on. And the quality of life in the United Arab Emirates, with no doubts, due to the wise leadership of United Arab Emirates, became one of the most attractive countries in which everybody want to live, study, and work at. And for this raise of the quality of life, I think the students will be attracted, and United Arab Emirates will become soon one of the international educational hub in the region. The second thing is the quality of life inside the higher educational institution. It's not enough to provide a quality of a program, but we should focus also on the life experience that the students will have inside our institution in order to make their experience complete. Together with the program we are delivering, we have to deliver an excellent quality of life inside the campus, which they are going to study in. The second pillar of the quality is the quality of the programs which we should work at. It's not only to have a program, but it should be internationally recognized in order to allow the students to move whenever they want from one institution to another, and in order to make the degree they are going to get recognizable all over the world. And actually, this one of the things that UAE is advanced in currently, because the number of universities in United Arab Emirates, which are listed now in the top 500 universities, are increasing one year after another. And I think according to the latest QS ranking, for example, and Times Higher Education, we have now about 10 institution in the United Arab Emirates, which are in the top 500 universities. Compared to just 8 years back, we have just 2 institutions. And this shows what the tremendous effort that all higher institutions in United Arab Emirates are doing in order to achieve international recognition. The third and the last and the most important pillar for this is the quality of the job that the students are going to have. Because anybody want to have a degree, and after having a degree, he should or he wants to be hired in a qualified job. And I think United Arab Emirates now again is one of the places that everyone want to work at. And not only this, according to the latest survey, I think United Arab Emirates now became in the world number 3 place after Canada and Australia. This means that for young, talented graduates, United Arab Emirates will be number 3. In United Arab Emirates, we don't only have a vision, we have a system, we have a qualified people who are going to take care of the students. Taking care of the students is not just at one step. I believe it will be through the student life, from boarding in the institution, continue to their experience during the program, and finally, when they are graduate, we are going to follow up in order to ensure that we are going to get the right employment. I think this can summarize the questions, and that's what I can say.
Well, I would say that's a very important start. You have really set the stage for our conversation further. Now, you've talked about student being not just looking at the universities. The idea of students being far more deliberate and outcome focused really sets the tone for our conversation. So, building on that only, Dr. Nadera, from the lens of student experience and inclusion, how are you seeing this shift show up in how students evaluate universities today?
Thank you. First, I need to thank Dr. Ali, because he actually sort of covered the 3 pillars, which actually what I would like to say so well. Thank you so much for that. I'd like to add something about flexibility, because we speak a lot about nowadays students when they come, especially with their parents, their questions are about the student life. As you said, employability as well. Of course, they want to know that there are going to be employment pathways, but then they ask us within the university, how do we actually prepare their students for their career pathways? What kind of pastoral care that the students are going to get? What kind of flexibility that within the systems, because kids at 17 sometimes they might think that they want to go in a certain pathway, but actually as they take their initial courses and as the life's changing so quickly, they might want to change. And flexibility within universities has become an important point, that we have to support that kind of growth that might happen in students' needs and to fulfill them for them. So that's one thing, is flexibility and understanding the needs of the students. But that requires something very important within the university, is advising. I think advising to have a proper student life and a strong outcome. We need to have good advising for the students, and the advising has to continue so that the admission promises that are given to the students at the beginning are carried through their journey within the university. Universities need to care a lot about what kind of student life they are going to have. But when I say just student life, is very and it's a big word, but what does that mean? It means good advising. It means there is care from faculty. So as a faculty, I'm not just delivering a content. I'm actually part doing the advising as well. I'm a mentor for the student as well, to in order to help them to choose their pathway. So we need to care about all these, and this has to be systematic. When I say systematic, that it does not just depend on the person. There has to be structures within the university that actually governs that the student's journey throughout the 4 years, from advising from the first point until advising and making sure that their major is what they need to do. And then also advising on what kind of internships they are going to have, advising on what kind of speakers I'm going to bring into the university, so that I can open pathways for them. So again, I stress the 2 points as very clear, systematic, structural advising and mentoring, and flexibility.
Well, that, the connection between advising, decision making, and the lived student experience really stands out, I think. It shows how the student recruitment and admissions signals are, extended far beyond only the admissions touch point that we usually cover. So, moving further, at the very first point of consideration, students often, eliminate institutions very quickly. They have so many ample amount of choices now. They also have access to the digital platforms, social medias, and everything. So, Professor Sharif, my next question is to you. What one element of the university's value proposition now carries the greatest weightage in influencing shortlisting decisions among the UAE based and even the international students, if we talk about?
Well, that's a good question, I guess. Um, uh, I think when I think, put myself, I'm a parent and I have, children. Some of them are in university and some have already finished the university. The first point of attraction to me is reputation. And reputation is many times linked to ranking, although I know myself and my colleagues here, there's always issues about ranking. Ranking shouldn't be taken for granted, that if it's ranked higher, it means it's better, etc. There's university ranking, there's programs, there's so many things. And I think as institutions or as specific programs who are recruiting students, we should keep our moral values. Okay, I'm not saying that we don't do that, but sometimes we stretch it a little bit. Sometimes we are, pressured because of the competition, that we look at, okay, let's get more students in the seat, let's fill the seats. And sometimes we recruit students and admit students who are, okay, they can come in, but they're not going to do very well. Okay. And because, the burden of sustainability, how are we going to be sustainable? We need more students, etc. But if we are really true to the professions that we are preparing the students for, then we should say, hey, this student, and we meet the students and the parents and we say, we feel that your child is maybe not fit for College of Medicine, for example, okay? But they may have talent in other things, in business, etc., etc. Part of our responsibility and accountability, whether to the student, the parents, or to the society, is to say, is to give that guidance, and not say, okay, let's have them in, let's bring a big number of students, because we have a graph that says, okay, last year we accepted 60, this year we have 80, then we're doing great. No, we want to put in the moral character and the responsibility and accountability. This is in the first thing. But after that, of course, the word recruitment is always followed by the word retention, right? Okay, because, okay, we've recruited a good number of students. Hopefully they're good students, okay? And that's, again, the responsibility. The students that we feel that they are going to succeed in this type of career, right? And there's all over the world, people talk about first year experience, right? So the first year experience is so important because this is when we have the most attrition, right? So how can, when sometimes we look at year one in many programs and we see that it's packed with general education courses, lots of general stuff, and it doesn't get into the heart of the matter, whether they're going to be engineers or pharmacists, etc. And this could be something that would turn students away. And I didn't feel that I'm learning something related here, and we lose them in the attrition. Also, the attrition, sometimes those who are not doing academically very well. And this means probably because in our admission process, we accepted students who are not the right students. And here there's a responsibility because we all make mistakes. Sometimes we think this student is going to do so good, okay? They come in, they don't. We have to have in that first year a special program to help the students who are struggling, give special help. I'm not, I know that we should have help to students, all across the years, but we should have more focus on year one because this is when students could struggle the most and they need the advising and the mentorship that Dr. Nadira was talking about, right? That a strong program there will help keep them in the system, not lose them to attrition. And at the same time, when the students succeed, it means that we have succeeded as well. So I know I went beyond the question, but let me stop here unless you have more specific questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've really well connected the whole topic itself, starting from reputation, then recruitment, and even the retention part. So that is very important, and the clarity around credibility is powerful. The emphasis on credibility and clarity is interesting. So, Dr. Sana, just moving further and diving deeper into this, when you look at this from the student behavior or the market insight perspective, does this align with what you see influencing the shortlisting decisions today for the students?
Definitely, it is a very important factor that students are looking into because this is Generation Z and they are very tech savvy and they are behaving like high involvement of being risk averse and decision makers, and they are more likely into return of education investment. I mean, a lot of dominating factors. So I believe when it comes to all these points, we need to be very effective to protect the academic core and the academic quality at the same time, because we need to have the right fit. And at the same time, it's not just about the volume, as Professor Sharif stated. So it's not just about the volume. We need to educate them that who belongs here and who. It's not about who just applied. So we need to separate the mode and the merit. The mode should be like, when I say the mode, it is like how the learning is happening. And merit should be like what the critical thinking is and how people are coming up with a blending of all these education perspectives in their mind. So it is very, very important to know about all these industry links, how they're going to move forward, and what are the dominating factors that will help them to progress. Because this progression, personal tutoring, all these things are very much connected with each other. And as Dr. Sharif mentioned, that it's the first year. I believe that in addition to the first year, the first day of what we have committed to the students and how it turns out to be like what we promised and what we are delivering, that is very, very important, because the first day, the impact they'll take, that this is what they'll remember throughout.
Well, that's a valuable validation from the student behavior lens. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, Dr. Sharif, you mentioned about the reputation beyond, so beyond rankings and marketing claims also. What specific aspects of academic quality genuinely builds trust with the students and parents in the UAE? Like, if we talk, how can institutions make this quality visible rather than just being assumed?
Yeah, I remember Professor Ali was talking about international recognition and international accreditation. And now we can see not just in institution-wide, there is international institutional accreditation, but also there are program-specific international accreditations from reputable Europe, US, Australia, etc. And I'm not saying that inside the country, we have a strong accreditation process by the Commission of Academic Accreditation. But from my experience, I have seen, every time we go through a program accreditation or institutional accreditation with a different organization, they always have a different perspective. And they have something to add to us, and they have some recommendations and suggestions that when we implement them, we can feel that the quality is improving. And the students can also feel it, because I think all accreditation exercises includes meeting with students, because it's, the students are the beneficiaries or the victims of what we do, right? Whatever we do, they are, the impact comes on them. And using them as a thermometer is extremely important, because they will tell us if we are doing a good job or not doing a good job. Students, of course, and alumni, because alumni have, gone to the market and they've seen what I learned. Is that useful, or am I learning things all over from the start again? So I think the international accreditation becomes important. But also there's, something else related to reputation, recruiting the right faculty. And I think this is extremely important, because, we have faculty all over the world with PhDs and every kind of specialty, but are they all the same? No, they're not all the same. And we can see that, across different universities. So I would say targeted recruitment of figures who are known for the quality of their teaching, their research, etc. Those who can serve as role models. And I stress on the role models for students very much, because students are affected by us, the faculty members, more than we can imagine. They look up to the faculty, and they take one or two or three of them as role models that they imitate, and they want to be like them. So I think, focusing on recruiting the right people, sometimes it requires, I call it an investment, because you're going to probably pay more to recruit a high caliber faculty member, but it's definitely an investment that will bring return. Because if it brings reputation, then the word of mouth, of course, is extremely important. To me today, it's more important than the ads that we put all over social media. Everybody's throwing those ads. But the word of mouth becomes really extremely important. The students that we have in the classroom today, the students that graduate, they bring others because of the quality, the role model faculty that we have. I think I'll stop here to give opportunity for my colleagues to add something.
Well, absolutely. You've articulated it in a very tangible terms, I would say. Professor Ali, building on that only, we talk about reputation, but with reputation, universities fall under a lot of pressure to innovate rapidly, be it with new programs, delivery models, digital tools. So, how can institutions pursue continuous academic innovation, without diluting credibility or even without confusing their core identity in the eyes of students?
As Professor Sharif said, actually repetition cannot be done in 1 or 2 or even 3 years. Repetition is a kind of a process. The institution should know that it will take time. It's a kind of cycle which can take maybe 5 years or maybe more in order to be repeated with the graduates and with the continuous improvement and feedback. Actually, one of the things that the institutions can do is the collaboration. I think now we have to shift from the competition to collaboration. And if we succeed to move to collaboration inside United Arab Emirates and even outside, this will not only improve our quality, but it'll make exposure to our faculty, our students for experiences which are outside. It's not only even make collaboration with universities, but we should collaborate with the industry in a more intensive way. And actually, it is now not only enough to have the industry as members in the board of the advisory board, but I believe that they should be involved in the design, in the delivery, and in the assessment of the program. And if the industry are involved in all this, this will ensure that the outcomes will be fulfilled. And we can make even use of the artificial intelligence because the cycle after which we can take feedback, normally it was long. This means that we can only take feedback cycle after the students graduates. But I think with the emerging technology, with the artificial intelligence, with digital transformation, we can even take instantaneous feedback, not after the course finished, but during the course, such that the instructors will try to enhance the delivery mode. And as Professor Nadra said, the assessment methodology, not after the course finish, but within the course. With this and with the make the quality empowered, the graduate empowered and fulfill the requirement of the industry, when they are recruited and they are giving good performance, as Professor Sharif said, the graduate is our reputation. Our final product is the student. And as long as the product of the students are good enough, I think we are going to have the good reputation. And we don't have to hurry. This will not take 1 year or 2 years, but it's a cycle. And I believe most of the institutions in United Arab Emirates, they only build reputations in 5, 6, 7, or even 10 years without naming any kind of institution. But I think this is the fact. Thank you.
Well, I absolutely agreeing. So, the balance between the industry and it is important. Now, if we talk about the balance that you have mentioned, the industry and institutional coherence, it's critical, especially in environments where change is constant and it's highly visible also to everybody. So, talking about that now, our next leg of conversation is about retention. So, when students disengage or drop out, the causes are really academic alone. So, Dr. Nadera, I would like to ask you, what non-academic factors most strongly determines whether student persist, and how can universities, intervene early and effectively?
The key word for me here is usually belonging. Do students feel that they belong to this institution? Do they see themselves as part of the institution? Do they see themselves represented in the institution? That's very important because we do live in a country which is extremely multicultural. I think when we have a university of, in my case, we're a small size university of over 2,500 students, but we have over 200 nationalities. And that's only the tip of the iceberg because we have all kinds of cultural differences and cultural backgrounds. How can a university make everyone feel welcome and make them feel that this is their home and this is their place they're going to be calling their alma mater, and they'll be very happy to carry their name, because that name of the university will carry with you throughout your life. So if we intentionally think about that from the beginning, then we focus a lot on the university experience and the culture that we're creating in the university. So number one, students need to feel that they are represented. They have a voice in the university. They have a voice, their voice is heard, and their voice is making a difference inside their university. Then they will feel that they want to stay. But it starts, of course, as we said, academically, it's very important. And what my colleagues have mentioned here, especially Professor Sharif, when he said, it's not just about the numbers we take in, it's about how we're going to retain them. And that's the most important, really. So that's why choosing well from the beginning. And as long as they match us, then what do we do? What are the structures that we have in place so that the students will continue to grow within the programs? I go back to my point about structured advising. But now about the culture within the university, even when we recruit our professors, we also have to think that the variety of professors is representative of the different cultures, because students need to see themselves in their professors. So we have to make sure that also their professors understand their cultures. There needs to be a lot of activities, events within the university, and done intentionally, not just International Day or something superficial like this. It has to be a lot deeper than that, and there has to be pastoral care within the university. Just want to add one more point also about innovation, that students will feel that they want to stay within this university when they feel that this university is current and is relevant within the market, that they feel that within their university the university attracts guest speakers who speak about the latest innovations. The university allow pathways for them to gain extra credits, for example, what we are now all working on, things like micro-credentials. So it's not just a university degree they're getting a lot more, something that can make them very employable later and opens pathways and doors for them. So that's why something that will retain the students is these very strong relationship with industry and with international, with global partners. So global partners are very important. I'm just going to give you a quick example about student exchange. Another thing that will retain students in a university, when they know that within their college they can actually have the experience of being abroad, either by virtual exchange or by actual factual exchange, where you can provide both. This will be also a point that will help retention, because they will feel that this degree is actually, or this university is opening doors for them for later.
Okay. The one thing that I can say, the way I was listening to your insights and the way you just mentioned belongingness, no, so it just humanizes retention, is what I would say. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Sanam, you've been long waiting. I'd like to ask you a question around retention only. So it is, personalization is often discussed, but difficult to execute at scales, at various other factors that gets involved with. So according to you, what does meaningful personalization actually look like in the UAE context? Like, where should institutions focus first to see the measurable retention impact?
So actually, when we say the students, the belongingness, the relationship, they are very, very important, like with the university. So sometimes students are not actually leaving the university; they actually leave the relationship which they have never formed. So we need to focus more on clarity, more on connection, and more on care. And how we can do that? It can actually be done by, like, monitoring a lot of the patterns that students are going through. A very basic thing is the attendance patterns. We need to keep this to parents equally informed, and the parental confidence is like a very important measure in the same thing as well. we also need to be a little more of, a, what you can say, a fast feedback cycle is very, very important, because this will develop true trust, coherence, and relevance. And it will help in develop a very strong and proactive approaches towards the students and the families. At the same time, it will help in to develop, the credible global pathways, and it will help us to measure a lot of things, like how are we progressing, what is the engagement, and what are the outcomes, like what we promised at the time of admission, what we delivered, and what student could actually remember. So if all these things are brought into focus, all these three pillars, I believe that it becomes very helpful, and success is, like, more sustainable.
Mhm. So I think it's easy to say and it's safe to say that, distinction between personalization and mere customization is crucial, and it reframes retention as, relevance over time. So, Professor Sharif has already mentioned it, and now we are going to talk about, we have talked about recruitment, we have talked about reputation and retention, and mostly they're often managed separately, mentioned separately. But as Professor Sharif also mentioned, but that what happens when institutions treat them as a single connected system, and what is lost when they remain siloed. So what is your opinion on this, Professor Ali? Would you like to answer this?
Can you
The question
repeat the?
is,
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I thought.
can you, this is again Professor Shif, but I can say the question, I think, what happen if the institution work alone without any kind of connection? This is what do you mean?
Yeah. I meant if we talk about all the three pillars connecting together, so how does it work?
I would like to say with what Professor Nadra said.
Like if institutions treat all of these pillars as one, so what's your opinion on that?
It's
What change would it bring?
actually they are connected. They are not separated and they are not one. They are actually three. But the things how they are going to connect this is the policies, procedures, and quality assurance system by which you are going to ensure that the plan, which will translate the vision and the mission of the institution into very clear strategic plan with measurable KPIs. And with these KPIs, the key performance indicators should be stages and should be measurable, and they are going to be followed according to the quality assurance system of the institution. There will always be a kind of feedback in order to ensure that we are going to be on the right track. And we are going to take this not only with the requirements, for example, for the accreditation requirements, CEA, but also with the international and with the institution itself, because each institution, it may have a specific KPIs that they want to work at. Translating all these quality into a implementation or strategic plan with KPIs and with a robust quality assurance system, I think this will ensure that we are going to follow up what we want to achieve. And if we have a kind of improvement action, it will be taken either year by year or semester by semester, whatever stated in the strategic plan implementation. And with this kind of planning, I believe that they can gather all these qualities together, and they are going to be sure that they are going to achieve their targets on time. This is
Okay,
what I can say.
thank you so much for sharing that. Well, Dr. Nadera, what
That's
is
something
your
here, if you don't
opinion?
mind. I just gonna give you an example. So you have like three offices, okay? You have an admission office, you have the recruitment office, admission office, and then you've got the outreach and alumni office, where the outreach to alumni. Those three offices, if we if we take them as three separate offices with with their own policies and their own KPIs is one thing, but they all need to, as Professor Ali, it's all about having this big umbrella of the mission and vision that is guiding all efforts together. Sometimes when you talked about siloed, yes, these are the mistakes that happen in universities where offices start working separately as if they have, they have their own goals, they want to reach their goals, but they don't think about the other offices. What exactly Professor Sharif said at the beginning. So recruitment is dying to get those extra 20 students, but then they're not really talking to admission and to pastoral care and thinking about, okay, what are we going to do with this student who accepted and he's actually borderline? Is there going to be enough advising for this student to take him through the years and then make sure that he's a success story at the end? Is he going to become an alumni that we want to actually highlight and become an ambassador of this university? So that complete story has to be very clear to all staff. Well, and that's why sometimes we can come into a very good point about orientation and training of staff, because sometimes maybe we focus a lot on faculty and how faculty are, top faculty and all. But to tell you the truth, you can have the best faculty in the world if your backbone of the university, which is the admission, the offices, they are the ones who carry us through to be able to give to write this whole story. Don't know if my colleagues agree with that, because sometimes we need the offices, whether they're the admission offices, the recruitment offices, the pastoral care, to actually continue what we do in the classrooms or the relationships that we have with our students.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Narela. And if I have to ask, looking ahead like 5 to 10 years, what will successful UAE universities do differently from those that struggle, particularly in how they attract students, earn trust, and keep learners engaged through graduation? So, what is your perspective here?
Sorry, are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think what really would distinguish the universities in the UAE is agility. I think we have, living in a country like the UAE where there is always the leadership has amazing agendas always and driving for the latest and providing the countries always with this vision of being on top and being number one and all that. And it's not just words, it's real, it has real meaning. So the agility would be, I think, something that will distinguish us, with the ability to make these changes or to embrace change, because the ability to embrace change is not easy. Universities are known to be sometimes the slowest in making change, but I think this is something that distinguishes us here in the UAE, is the ability to embrace change and to think about how we can be embracing change. I'm just going to give a quick example. Like, for example, the Dubai and the UAE in general is looking into, in 2033, I think, is to become a hub for gaming. Now, very few people around the world know what we're talking about when you talk about gaming, okay? And it's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of doing things. And to see that now, and I know a number of universities has already established a platform for that and established degrees actually in gaming. So this is just a simple example of how I'm not going to talk about just emerging technologies, because we are very big on emerging technologies in the UAE, but this is just a simple example about agility and being able to embrace change.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Do we have Dr. Sana? Dr. Sana, can you hear us?
It seems
Dr.
there's
Sana?
the connection.
All right, no worries. We'll just wait for her to connect again. So moving further, I'd like to ask Professor Sharif. So in the same context, Professor Sharif, that the long-term mindset is crucial. So from your perspective, what will truly differentiate institutions, in the eyes of future students?
Well, I think that the culture of teaching and learning, in the past, we used to say teaching. The word teaching was always there. We go to the university, the teaching is happening there. And then they started saying teaching and learning because they realized that teaching many times doesn't lead to learning. People are just teaching and nothing is happening. And even in some context, I read something saying learning and teaching, even, you know, focusing on the term learning. So I think the focus on the, you know, what the learner has really achieved is important. Also, when we say, I think institutions need to become more human. I know we are in the era of artificialism, like artificial intelligence. I'm not against AI. No one can be against AI. AI is here to stay, and it's going to stay longer than us. And we know that. We all know that. But let's make the student experience in the university more human, more personal. Students need to feel that each one of the faculty cares, that we actually care about the student. We need to distance ourselves from this. Everything is becoming so artificial. Email communications, we don't have this one-on-one social interaction. So I think that human touch becomes important. Also, I remember in the past, a professor who's teaching a class, they would say, okay, I did the exam, 5 students got 100%. So my exam is good, my teaching is great. Since those students got this score, it means I did a wonderful job. When in reality, it doesn't mean anything. Because top students and so intelligent students, they will succeed even if you didn't come to class, as a professor, right? They will find a way. My success as a professor is if I can bring a student who is struggling and failing to pass and be average. This is something that I need to celebrate. Not that the excellent students are doing excellent in my class. And this requires me as a faculty member, to find out, which are the students in my class who need help, who have learning styles that are different, the students today I don't think any of them is unintelligent, okay? It's just finding the way to reach those students and bring them from this level to that level, make them, achieve the outcomes. I think if that personal relationship happens between the faculty member and the students, and that level of caring happens, this will be extremely, and again, I'm saying this is the culture of teaching and learning in the university. I also wanted to add something here, that in our institutions, in our programs, I always say that it's part of our responsibility to provide opportunities. Okay, it's not just about here's the class, here's the material, etc. What opportunities? One of my colleagues was talking about student exchange. These are opportunities that it takes a while to be able to build those opportunities, especially if you're going to, students going abroad to other countries, etc. And these opportunities are extremely important, and they are life-changing for the students who undertake them. Some of them will go on the exchange, they will learn something new, they will do so well, and in time you will find them doing postgraduate studies in that same institution. So it gives us pride that we have opened the door and selected the right students for that particular opportunity to make them succeed. So providing opportunities to different students in different domains is our responsibility, and it feels great when they take advantages of them, and it changes their lives and their careers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, sir. So now that we have Dr. Sana, I hope the internet connection is stable now. I just like to reiterate the discussion that we were having for you. So we were talking about the future outlook, like looking ahead 5 to 10 years, like what will successful UAE universities do differently, from those who struggle. So I'd like to know your perspective here in terms of, curriculum design, maybe how can universities do better or different to outshine the others in the coming years.
Thank you, Tanya, and apologies, my system crashed.
There is no
So,
doubt.
apologies for that. So, I believe like from 5 to 10 years from now, it'll be more about, the trust and coherence, and more about the relevance of what they are doing, because they won't be looking into the size and the ranking perspectives, because that'll be something which will not be measured. What will be measured would be how engaged they are, what industry academia linkages they have, the employability factors are very important, and how they can actually productively be involved in certain perspectives. As I mentioned earlier, the true relationships with the students and the families are very, very important. They would most probably be looking into more credible global pathways, which are like, an extremely important progression for international and national students, definitely. And definitely, if we align all of these perspectives, it will be like very much important to have successful, sustainable futures with us. And it will help to retain and maintain the academic quality at the same time, because it will be become more measurable, more verifiable, and because students and families and everybody who is bringing their child from a far away place, they'll be looking into the credibility of these institutions. What are they giving back? Like, as I mentioned earlier, it's all about return on education investment. That is very important for this generation. That's all.
Well, thank you so much for that. Now, we are talking about future outlook, and when we talk about future, everybody thinks that how can we not talk about AI? Well, I would say AI is not the future, it's already here. AI is transforming universities on one side through all the departments and empowering students on the other as well. So, Professor Ali, if I may know your perspective here, where does AI create the biggest advantage for students, and how must UAE institutions adapt to stay relevant and trusted in the AI era?
I believe that one of the biggest advantage that the AI will bring in higher education is we know from the theory of education, instead of having the theory of one size fits all, this is not correct. And actually, what we call customized learning will be the best. And if you imagine that each student have a faculty who can teach him personally according to his capability, I believe that all the class will get A and they will be well educated. The AI has two big advantages. It can be customized according to the needs of the students. Lectures can be repeated till the students will understand what's going on. Assessment can be changed according to the needs of the students or the quality of the students till we reach what we want. But all this needs a mentor, which is a faculty who will be sure that the process is going in the best possible way. Actually, AI can bring lots of benefits. As I said, this customization and customized teaching and learning process. And in the meantime, we have to not to stuck to the old curriculums. Some courses can be online, some others can be on campus, some can be a hybrid of them. The institution should take this into account. And in order to make a full benefit of the AI, two important parameters should be there. First, the training of the faculty and the students, because as you mentioned in your questions, the AI is already there And one of the disadvantage that we are suffering from now from AI, it has already been implemented without enough training for faculty, without enough training for the students, and even without policies at the institutional level and at the country level. And in order to make it wise and in order to make it in a responsible way, I believe that we should put policies at the country level. They should be policies at the institutional level. They should be good training for the faculty and the students how to use it, not only as a general, but even in each subject. They should be general education. It should be there in general education. And after this, it can be also in the curriculum in order to ensure that it will make the achievement or the requirement from it. Three pillars are there. First, policies and procedure, training of faculty, and training of the students in order to ensure, as I said, that we are going to apply it ethically, wisely, and responsibly. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for answering that. That's an important framing of AI. Like, it's not the replacement, but only as an enabler for better informed, more empowered students. And ensuring AI enhances the student experiences, without weakening the sense of belonging and human connection is very important in this era. So, moving further,
If you allow just one thing, because it's
definitely,
come
sure.
directly to what you said, you will never stop AI. And actually, just last month, Harvard, MIT, and a lot of elite universities, they decided to switch off using Turnitin. It will not be long for plagiarism. They said this is nonsense, and they are switching to put policies and to teach or to learn, as Professor Sharif said, the student, how can they use it ethically and responsibly. Nobody can stop it, but we can use it in a better way in order to achieve our targets. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that,
I'd
sir.
like to just add a quick thing here because I think it's a challenge that we're all going through is how to put these policies because there's every day there's a new way, every day there's a new tool, every day there's a new idea even. And we are all struggling with these policies. So that's why they have to be very agile policies. It cannot be, I mean, what we are talking about here is that these policies we've already sort of have a preliminary, I would say, policy, but we all decided that it will have to be revised, looked at again every semester, not every year even, because there are always something new. It's a lot faster than anything that we have seen before. Yes, the core is there, but it's a struggle. I believe it's a struggle right now in all higher education because you hear a new thing every day.
Absolutely agreeing with you as well, ma'am. Now, I just like to, without taking much time, respecting all of yours time as well. So I'd like to bring this to a close. So before closing it, I'd ask a common question to all the speakers that we expect you to answer briefly in 1 or 2 lines, or if you'd like to answer it as much length, you would also like to do that. So, if UAE universities could fix just one thing today to strengthen recruitment, retention, and reputation together, what should that priority be and why? I'll start with Dr. Nadira.
I would say we need to map the full student experience from the minute they put their application until their graduation, and the journey has to be clear, not just in the student's mind, but in all staff and faculty mind, that this is a journey that needs to be mapped and needs to be aligned, so that the student can actually can reach the promise that he was given at admission and can become our ambassador when they graduate. So in just 2 words, I would say, please invest in people, whether they are staff, whether they're faculty, they're students, as much as you invest in platforms.
That's a powerful reminder. Professor Ali, can we have your opinion here?
Just a simple word, we have to understand the needs of the students, and we have to understand that they are not similar to our generation or even to the generation which is just 2 or 3 years back. They are students with new needs, and the institution who are going to adapt their curriculum, to adapt their assessment, and to share the governance with the students. I think they are going to be the most successful because you will understand the needs of the students in the best possible way.
Thank you so much for that. Professor Sharif, can we have your opinion?
It's becoming too difficult here. I hear lots of good things.
I'm glad I went first.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Nadira, in the beginning, you said an interesting word is flexibility. And I think in today's world, this flexibility becomes more and more important. Although accreditation, like our own accreditation here, they put standards, and you have to do it this way and this number of hours, etc., and the quantity. I think even the CAA now has realized that they need to give the institutions, I'm not going to give you a cap. You decide how many students, you decide, okay? But I'm going to come in a year and see how you are doing. So they gave us the flexibility, but it comes with a huge responsibility. One of the flexibilities, for example, we were having a discussion the other day about attendance policy. And in many institutions that I've worked in the past years, it would be 80% attendance is required. Less than 80%, you're not allowed to sit for the final exam. And when you think of it, why? Let them sit for the final exam. If they fail, they fail. If they don't, then they're smart. Maybe they don't need to attend my lectures. Maybe, especially in today's world with technology, maybe my lecture is boring and I'm saying stuff that's already there and they have access to it and to better resources, etc. Okay, so maybe we should, that kind of flexibility. If CAA comes and tell me, where's your attendance policy? I say, no, they don't have to attend. But it comes with a responsibility that we're not giving lecturing and the didactic lecturing. You see classrooms now that are, round tables, that are, they're problems, they're working on problems, they're discussing things, etc. And this is where learning is actually happening. So if we provide the faculty and the students with this flexibility, and sometimes in education, they even call it, a partnership between the faculty and the students. So it's actually a partnership. These students who in the past we felt they don't know anything, we are the professors. No, they can actually be partners and the learning will be much, much better. So I think, the faculty development, as Professor Ali is saying, is extremely important across everything that we are saying. Policies that we make, it's true that, we're slower than AI and technology and policies. But right now we are using AI to create policies. We say we want policy like that and AI will do it. So I think, again, it's our flexibility and our logic. If we sit around the table and we feel that it's logical to do it this way or that way, then we should do it. There's no boundaries. And when we are sitting around the table and making decisions about students and their learning, they have to be at the table at the same time. They're not there just to tick a box for accreditation, but they're there because we give them also the opportunity to talk and speak their mind, because many times they see things that we can never see. So flexibility involving students and faculty development and so many things that are priority for UAE institutions and institutions around the world. Thank you.
Beautifully answered, sir. Thank you so much for that. Now, can we have your final thoughts, Dr. Sana?
Yes. So if we have to fix one thing in the universities, I would say that credibility is built through consistency and it is developed through enhancement. So if we have to fix one thing, that should be the right fit, whether it's for the faculty, whether it's for the students, because especially if you are teaching in your specialized area, you are able to justify. If the right student has been picked up, it shouldn't be just about the volume, it should be who belongs, and it's not about who applied would stay here. So that is really, really important. Being a doctorate is not really mattered, but being a doctorate from a recognized institution, that really matters. And then obviously the publications, research, and the intensive work that has been done. So I believe that to close the gap between what is being promised to the student at the time of recruitment and like the student experience and like what has been actually being provided to the student, that really matters. So it should be picked up early and it should be very much consistent. This is all which needs to be fixed, the universities.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Sinha. Well, those were strong closing insights, I would say. So thank you for sharing those. Now, I'd just like to, wrap up our conversation. Thank you all for such thoughtful insights. What's clear from today's discussion is that, the success in UAE's higher education landscape today, tomorrow, beyond, will belong to institutions that think holistically. So, where recruitment sets the promise and reputation and rankings earn the trust and retention delivers on the promise every day. So, to our panelists, thank you for sharing your experiences and leadership so generously with those examples. They were really great. And I'm sure our audience has definitely made some notes. So, to our audience, thank you for joining us. This session has been recorded and will be shared shortly with you. So, along with the key insights across Meritto's channels and various touch points. We look forward to welcome you again to the next edition of Education Circuit by Meritto. Till then, see you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much.